All right, so today we're diving deep into the life of, well, Joel Maki
Okay.
and his memoir, which is, let me tell you, quite the journey.
Yeah, it's amazing. It spans like, what, 8 decades?
8 decades, he was born in 37, so yeah, over 80 years worth of experiences.
And it's not your typical, celebrity tell-all.
No, not at all.
It's really refreshing, actually.
Right, like this is a regular guy, but man, his life.
Yeah, it just goes to show you don't have to be famous to have an incredible story.
Totally, and he starts off like, boom, right into his childhood,
Okay, yeah.
1940s Los Angeles, which, talk about a different world.
Right. I mean, can you
He
imagine?
describes his house, and it's like stepping back in time.
Like, what kind of details are we talking?
Okay, so picture this.
Uh,
An icebox with the coils on top.
oh, wow. Yeah.
Gravity flush toilet, you know, the ones you get to really flush.
Right, right.
And get this, a 4-story apartment building right next door.
No way. Seriously.
Apparently zoning laws back then were a bit more relaxed.
That's wild. It really makes you think about how much our living spaces have changed,
It's mind-blowing, right? And it's not just the houses.
Yeah, what else?
He talks about how radio was like the thing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The Lone Ranger, Gene Autry, all these shows just like fueled his imagination.
It's true, and it makes you wonder, how different is that from how kids are entertained today?
It's got to be completely different, right?
Right. I mean, think about it. Back then, they had to picture everything in their heads.
Create their own visuals, yeah.
Exactly. It's like a workout for your imagination. Right.
Totally, not just passively consuming.
Right. And I think those skills, like creativity and critical thinking, they're more important now than ever.
Absolutely. And speaking of being active, Joel was one resourceful kid,
Oh, yeah.
selling newspapers on street corners, delivering telegrams on his bike across LA traffic.
Wow. That's impressive, especially back then.
Can you imagine the trust his parents had?
I don't know if I let my kid do that nowadays.
Right. It's a different world now.
For sure, times have changed.
And get this, he buys his first car, a Plymouth Club coupe,
Oh.
for $125.
$125. You gotta be kidding me.
Nope, that was the price back then. And get this, it had a heliotrope paint job.
A what?
Heliotrope. I had to look it up. It's like a purplish color.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, even as a kid, this guy was like hustling and had a cool car.
Sounds like it.
But it wasn't all, work and no play.
He had some fun, too.
Oh yeah, he sang in the choir and played football in high school.
Okay, cool. So a bit of a Renaissance man.
And get this, they had this system called exponents to figure out who could play sports.
Exponents. What's that?
They'd use your age, height, weight, all that to determine eligibility.
Wow, that's so different from how they do it now.
Right. And speaking of different, could you imagine playing football without a face mask?
Oh my gosh, no, that's crazy.
Because that's what Joel did.
Seriously?
Yeah, and it led to, well, a pretty memorable injury.
Oh no, what happened?
So he's playing defense, right? Sees an opening to sack the quarterback,
Oh.
goes for it, and bam! Knee to the face,
Ouch.
blood everywhere. His teammate was so freaked out by the blood, he wouldn't even look at him.
That's intense. And, it makes you think about how much safer sports are today with all the equipment and stuff.
For sure. But here's the thing. That injury, as bad as it was, it actually led to this whole chain of events.
Really? How so?
So because of it, he almost missed this National Guard open house.
Okay.
Where he met this girl, Margaret.
Margaret, all right, I see where this is going.
And let me tell you, that meeting, it ends up being huge later on.
Oh, is that right? A little foreshadowing there.
You could say that, but first let's talk about the National Guard.
Okay, yes. So he joined up. Was this during Vietnam?
Yeah, to avoid the draft while he was in college.
Makes sense.
And get this, he ended up in the crypto unit.
Crypto unit. Now that sounds intriguing.
Right. He doesn't say much about it, but it's all mysterious.
Gotta pique your curiosity for sure.
It does. But it wasn't all, secret missions and stuff.
No, there were some lighter moments.
Oh, yeah. He tells this funny story about the enlisted men's club.
What happened?
Let's just say he might have overindulged a bit.
Oh, no.
Yeah, had a bit too much fun, and then had to, salute an officer on his way back to the barracks.
I can imagine that was a sight.
He makes it pretty clear it wasn't his most graceful moment.
A little youthful indiscretion. We've all been there.
Exactly. Makes him relatable, right?
Totally. But it wasn't all, hijinks.
Oh, no, he got to do some pretty amazing stuff, too.
Like what?
He got to fly in a P-48 fighter jet.
Wow, seriously. That's incredible.
Yeah, and he even witnessed a missing man formation flyover during a pilot's funeral.
Wow, that must have been powerful. The thrill of flight and then the solemnity of the funeral.
Definitely left an impression on him.
I bet. And speaking of impressions, what about Margaret? What happens with her?
All right, so remember how they met at that National Guard open house?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, their paths cross again, this time at Pierce College.
Okay, so fate brings them back together.
You could say that, but here's the thing. Margaret's not the same girl he met before.
Oh, how so?
She's changed, she's blossomed, she's got her sights set on Joel,
Oh boy, here we go.
and she's not afraid to go after what she wants.
Sounds kind of bold.
Oh, she's bold, all right. He describes how she pursued him relentlessly.
No kidding. What about her family? Were they okay with this?
Oh, that's a whole other story they did not approve, not one bit.
Really? Why not? What was wrong with Joel?
He doesn't go into a ton of detail, but you get the sense it was, a difference in backgrounds.
Ah, the classic tale of star-crossed lovers.
Something like that. But anyway, despite the family drama, it all culminates in
Don't tell me, a shotgun wedding.
you guessed it. Talk about a whirlwind romance, right?
Seriously, makes you think about how different things were back then.
Right, the societal pressures, the expectations.
Different.
Absolutely. But before we dive into all that, let's talk about Joel's career.
Okay, yeah, because this is where it gets interesting.
Right, because it's not like a straight line. He bounces around a bit.
Oh, yeah. Like what kind of jobs?
Okay, so he starts off selling salt.
Salt, like table salt.
Yep, door to door.
Wow, tough gig.
Then he switches to selling ice cream.
Okay, that's a little more appealing.
Right, but then he ends up working at a manufacturing company.
Oh, all over the map?
It seems random, but here's the thing. He says each job taught him something valuable.
I like that. Gotta find the lessons wherever you can.
Exactly. Sales, management, customer service. He even picked up some legal knowledge.
Really? How'd that happen?
Just being around the company lawyers, listening, observing.
Huh, you never know what'll come in handy later on.
Right, and that legal exposure, it ends up being huge.
Yeah. How so?
Well, he's working at Baskin-Robbins at this point.
Baskin-Robbins. As in the ice cream?
Yep, and he gets to talking with their attorney.
Okay.
And that conversation, it kind of plants the seed.
The seed for what?
Law school.
Wow, no kidding. Talk about a career change.
Right, from scooping ice cream to, law books.
That's quite the leap. But hey, good for him for going after it.
Absolutely, but of course it wasn't easy juggling law school, a family.
And a job, right.
Oh, yeah, and this is where things with Margaret, they take a turn.
Ugh, nah, not another shotgun wedding, I hope.
No, nothing like that. But he starts to realize he missed some things.
Like what?
Those little clues, the signs that something's not quite right.
Ah, I see where this is going.
And then it all comes crashing down. He finds out about her infidelity.
Oh no, that's rough.
It was a huge blow. He describes it as like a gut punch.
I bet. That's gotta be tough to process.
It was a lot. And then she asked for a divorce.
Wow, just like that.
It's never really just like that, but it felt sudden,
I can imagine. What a difficult situation.
It was a rough time. But here's the thing. Even amidst all that, he meets Jenna.
Jana. Okay, so a new chapter begins.
You could say that, but of course, second marriages, they come with their own challenges.
Right. Blending families, step-parenting, that's never easy.
And Joel doesn't sugarcoat it. He's honest about the struggles they faced.
But they made it work.
They did. They found their footing, and they built a strong relationship.
That's good to hear. Everyone deserves a little happiness.
Absolutely. But Joel's story, it's not over yet. Remember that whole juvenile justice thing?
Oh, right. That's right. He goes from Baskin-Robbins to working with, troubled youth.
It's quite the shift, but it's a big part of his life.
So how does that happen? What leads him there? Well, he doesn't go into a ton of detail about how the transition happened.
Yeah, it's kind of a quick jump in the memoir.
But it sounds like, from what he does say, he felt drawn to working with, kids who needed a little extra guidance.
Yeah, and he really got his hands dirty working directly with these kids, hearing their stories.
And you can tell it impacted him deeply.
Oh, yeah. There's this one story he tells. It's pretty intense.
What happened?
So he's working at this detention center, right?
Okay.
And he gets this feeling, like something's off.
Like a sixth sense almost?
Exactly. And he starts to think, maybe there's going to be a gang fight.
Oh, no.
So he tells the other staff members, but they're like, nah, you're just being paranoid.
They brushed him off.
Yeah. But Joel, he trusts his gut. He insists on calling for backup.
Good for him.
And guess what? They end up finding this whole stash of weapons hidden in the dorms.
No way.
Yeah, and a bunch of the kids end up getting arrested.
Wow, so he was right.
Totally. And it just shows, the weight of that job, the responsibility.
Absolutely. You're dealing with young lives, and safety is paramount.
For sure. But it wasn't all, tense situations and danger.
There were some positive moments, too, I hope.
Oh, yeah. He talks about the relationships he's built with some of the kids, how rewarding it was to see them turn their lives around.
That's got to be the most fulfilling part, right? Knowing you made a difference.
Totally. And it wasn't just a job for him. He continued to work with youth, even after he retired from Camp Irwin-Owen.
Really? How so?
He started leading these discussions with teenagers who got, traffic tickets and stuff.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, trying to get through to them,
Yeah.
make them understand the seriousness of their actions.
It's about more than just the ticket. It's about making responsible choices.
Exactly. And it just shows this guy, he's got this huge heart, this desire to help others.
He really does. And it's not just limited to, juvenile justice. He's got this whole other side to him.
Oh, yeah. And that's what I love about his story. It's full of these unexpected twists and turns.
Well, you mentioned something about winemaking.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So after he retires, he and Jana move to Ramona.
Okay.
And he gets really into, wait for it, winemaking.
No kidding. Talk about a curveball.
Right. It's like
Wow.
this whole other chapter in his life, and he dives in head first.
So he's out there stomping grapes and everything.
He's learning the ropes, planting vineyards. He even names his wine Serendipity Estate, Petite Syrah.
Serendipity. I like that. It kind of sums up his whole life, doesn't it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Because even though it wasn't always easy, he embraced those unexpected turns, found joy in the journey.
And that's a powerful message, right? To be open to new experiences even later in life.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes Joel's story so inspiring. It reminds us that it's never too late to discover new passions, to challenge ourselves to make a difference.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the life of Joel Maki.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
It really does. And this has been quite the journey, exploring his childhood in 1940s Los Angeles, his unexpected career paths, his personal triumphs and challenges.
Yeah, from iceboxes and radio shows to law books and vineyards, he's done it all.
And through it all, he never lost sight of his values, his commitment to family and community.
And that sense of adventure, that willingness to embrace the unknown.
Absolutely. Joel's story reminds us that life is full of surprises, and it's often in those unexpected moments that we discover our true selves.
Beautifully said. And to our listeners, we hope Joel's story inspires you to approach your own journeys with that same sense of curiosity, resilience, and maybe even a little serendipity.
Cheers to that.